Chapter 31. The Real Thing. Faith no more reverence. Throughout the night, the tribe counted their losses. A pair of tall and short had gotten loose in the tribe hallways, in the tribe tree and underground hallways, and wreaked havoc. They did almost as much damage as the war store. Tall ripped the hollow trees with its spiky feet, and Short zipped through the underground hallways. It seemed this Short was equipped with a flamethrower, and together they destroyed all the tribe's trees and most of their underground hallways. The rest of the tribe decided to gather in the garage. Tony, Elle, and Perry approached the guest room and saw smoke coming from where the door used to be. They all ran up to the room. There was no signs of life. Perry's clone and his girlfriend were dead, burned in the bed. They looked like they were sleeping. Perry's girlfriend's perfectly cloned ass was sticking out of her robe. Of course, one last burnt ass time. "Fozzie!" Elle yelled. They looked around. There was no sign of Fozzie. "Foz!" Elle called out again, and Fozzie trotted out from underneath the bed. "Oh my God!" she said, and hugged the dog. Perry ran past his burned clone and burned ex-girlfriend, ducked behind his bed and grasped at something. "Oh my God, thank God," he said, pulling out his drug suitcase. Their stuff was mostly here. It seemed like the robots just burned the two clones. The humans got their stuff and got ready to leave. Tony loaded his guns, looked up with a serious face at Elle and Perry. They did the same. They used to keep their guns in their pack. Not anymore. They were packed and locked and loaded, leaving their new room possibly for the last time. Perry was the last to leave and said, "I'll miss you," as he patted his pregnant ex-girlfriend's dead ass, exposing her ass again for one last time as they made their way out. They made their way to the garage. As they approached the garage location, they passed many of the hollowed-out trees that used to be the tribe hallways and homes. Destroyed, knocked over, burnt. The massive war store was parked next to the garage, sitting awkwardly and silently out in the open. There were less than 30 of the tribe that survived. King stood in front of the survivors in the garage, next to a destroyed Tall and Short. Slash was there. Elle ran up and hugged Janice, who was running to meet her. Bob Marley made it. Perry looked everywhere, but Candy was not to be found. Moon sat sadly in the corner, next to one of his drums. Many of the tribe were injured, with makeshift walking canes and splints made of branches. King addressed the crowd. "They attack us!" King said loudly. "We kill robots!" He pointed at the smashed robots next to him and continued louder. "We take Big Machine!" King announced and pounded on his chest, building up. "We kill the company!" The small group cheered. It was enthusiastic. They were upset, injured, and angry. But it was a meager cheer compared to the thousands of the tribe they had before. King invited Tony up with him. "You tell," King said. "Well, they've been releasing a new war store every week. Well, tonight is the 7th day. A new war store will roll out tonight," Tony explained. "We have this one. It's not very damaged and is in working order." Tony looked down to Bob Marley. "Bob and I both know how to pilot this machine, and Bob is very good. We will be on equal ground with the company. I think we can defeat any war store one-on-one." The tribe looked around at each other. One chimp patted Bob on the shoulder and said something into his ear. Tony continued, motioning towards King. Plus, King and a few others took this giant machine all by themselves. I think we have the advantage. King took over. Rest today. Leave tonight. Ready battle tonight. The group relaxed and started talking amongst themselves. Tony hopped down and walked up to Bob, and they both walked towards the war store. Tony and Bob went up to the war store cockpit. There was a lot of blood and dead bodies in the hallways. Humans and monkeys. Bob leaned over and picked up something like a tooth. Then figured out it was a tooth and then threw it away. Bob sat down in the pilot seat. He had been playing a war store simulator ever since Tony discovered it a few days ago, and things seemed instantly familiar to him. Tony looked over his shoulder and they talked, pointing at the screen every once in a while and talking about different aspects of the war store. I can drive this thing, man. Bob was confident. Yeah, but what about the guns? You have to shoot them from over here. This isn't a one-person operation. They looked around in the cockpit and saw different stations and different monitors. Here, man, Bob said. We need another Rasta over there. All the guns, cannons, and even the Scorpion missiles were controlled at different stations. They weren't too far away, but you had to move to get to them. Bob sat at the pilot station and reached his feet over towards the weapon station. He laughed knowing his feet wouldn't reach. Damn, man. Is that it? Tony asked out loud. There were about 20 different stations scattered throughout the cockpit. Tony and Bob scouted each location. This radar, man, Bob said. Yeah, most of this looks like it's BS, like communications, shopping monitors, shit, inventory. Tony listed off monitors as he walked by them. Many of the cockpit stations had to do with the selling part of the store instead of the war part of the store. Don't need those to kick ass, man, Bob said. Ha ha. Yep, fuck these places. Tony stopped at the station. Oh, this looks like fuel or something? He looked down reading and was opening menus. Nuke? He said questioningly. What that, man? Bob asked. Whoa, okay, he said as he read. He kept reading and touching the screen. Oh man, this thing is powered by a nuclear engine. What that, man? Bob asked. Oh, nuclear means if it blows up, Tony answered, then used an exaggerated arm movement to illustrate his point. Big boom! Everyone around here dies. Also, he kept reading, oh, this thing will never run out of power for 10 years. Bob stared at him and didn't say anything for a while, and then opened his mouth. Damn, man. 10 years of batteries, man? Then Bob continued to explore the other stations. A beep came from a station, and they both ran over and looked. It was some sort of messaging. It was Elosa HQ. The screen said one word. Report? ? Bob went over and started typing. Fuckyo. Tony interrupted. Wait. Bob looked over at him. What, man? Typed L and hit send. After a short silence, another beeping started. This time from down the hall in the captain's office. They both ran over, almost slipping on the bloody floor, and ran through the bullet-riddled door hanging off the hinges. Tony hit answer and the speakerphone turned on with some static. Hello? A weaselly speaker asked. Tony answered in a deep, strange voice, in some weak attempt to disguise his voice. Hello? Who is this? Who is this? The speaker answered again. Tony attempted his best Rambo impression. Your worst nightmare. What? Who? What? Tony turned off the mic. Bob and him both laughed. Ha ha! Hilarious, man! Bob slapped him some skin. Even though Bob had never seen Rambo, he thought that was hilarious. Tony sat in the captain's chair. There was a pistol lying on the ground. Tony grabbed it and threw it to Bob. Then Tony opened the captain's top desk drawer. A pencil rolled from the back to the front of the drawer. It was mostly empty, like it hadn't been used or was a brand new desk or something. In the next drawer was a fat stack of cash and a bunch of old pictures held together with rubber bands. Tony grabbed the pics and then grimaced in disgust and quickly dropped it back into the drawer. After a while, Tony and Bob went back to the cockpit and figured out that 2 people could pilot the War Story in combat. It wouldn't have all its functionality with only 2 people, but they didn't need most of the functionality. All they needed to do was move and shoot. One combat feature they needed another person for was the drones to give them commands, but they were pretty much good to go other than that. The simulator had taught them a lot. As they were leaving, they noticed a giant pile of what could only be described as stuff behind the war store. The tribe was going through the store part of the war store and pulling shit out. There was clothing of all types, games, toys, knickknacks, tons of food. They were pulling everything out. It was like Christmas back there.